Sairam students, in the previous video, we learnt about disease causing microorganisms. We learned that microorganisms can spoil our food. In order to avoid that, we are going to learn food preservation. We already learnt about food poisoning. Do you remember what is food poisoning? Food poisoning is caused due to the consumption of food spoiled by some microorganisms. Microorganisms that grow on our food sometimes produce toxic substances. These make the food poisonous, causing serious illness and even death. If we leave any food for a few days without consuming it, for example, if we leave bread without eating it for many days, we can see greenish substances being formed on the surface of the bread. This is nothing but fungi, and this means that the microorganism has produced toxic substances and has spoiled the food. So, if we consume food which is spoiled, we will get food poisoning. Microorganisms spoil our food. Spoiled food emits bad smell and has a bad taste and changed color. How do we know that a food item is spoiled? We will know that microorganisms have spoiled our food if the food has a bad smell, a bad taste, or changed color. All these indicate that the food is spoiled and it should not be consumed. It is very important that we preserve food to prevent it from being spoiled. Let us look at different methods of food preservation. We have chemical methods and physical methods. Let us look at the chemical methods of food preservation. By adding common salt, adding preservatives, adding sugar, and preserving using oil and vinegar. Some of the physical methods of food preservation are chilling and freezing, heat and cold treatment, canning, and drying. Let us look at the chemical methods of food preservation. Salts and edible oils are the common chemicals generally used to check the growth of microorganisms. Therefore, they are called preservatives. What are preservatives? Preservatives are natural or man-made chemicals that are added to food to stop them from spoiling. In order to stop the food from spoiling, we add preservatives. We add salt or acid preservatives to pickles to prevent the attack of microbes. We can see in our houses that pickles are made using a lot of salt and oil and preservatives because this will prevent it from the attack of microbes. Microbes cannot survive in such an environment. So, when we add salt or acid preservatives to pickles, it does not allow the growth of microorganisms and doesn't allow the food to get spoiled. Sodium benzoate and sodium metabisulfite are common preservatives. These are two important preservatives. They are the most common preservatives. Remember the names, students. Sodium benzoate and sodium metabisulfite. Sodium metabisulfite and sodium benzoate are the common preservatives. These are used in jams and squashes to check their spoilage. Next is the preservation by common salt. Common salt can be used to preserve meat and fish. Meat and fish are covered with dry salt to check the growth of bacteria. we can see that the meat and fish can be covered fully with common salt, and this reduces the growth of bacteria because it absorbs all the moisture from the meat and fish. The water content is absorbed, which henceforth checks the growth of bacteria. It doesn't allow bacteria to grow. So, this is preservation of meat and fish by common salt. Salting is also used to preserve amla, raw mangoes, tamarind, etc. Over here, we can see that salting is a method which is used to preserve amla, raw mangoes, and tamarind. You would have seen these in your house. And preservation by sugar. Jams, jellies, and squashes are preserved by sugar. Sugar reduces the moisture content, which inhibits the growth of bacteria which spoil food. So, what does sugar do? It reduces the moisture content, which in return doesn't allow the bacteria to grow. So, if bacteria cannot grow in the food does not get spoiled. So, this is how we preserve food by sugar. Preservation by oil and vinegar. Use of oil and vinegar prevents spoilage of pickles because bacteria cannot live in such an environment. Vegetable, fruits, fish, and meat are often preserved by this method. This is a very common method of preserving food using oil and vinegar. Especially in pickles, we can see this that it is dipped in oil or in vinegar because bacteria cannot live in such an environment. So that then the food also cannot get spoiled and the shelf life of the food is extended, meaning we can use the products for a longer time. Many vegetables, fruits, fish, and meat are also preserved by this method. Okay, students. So, what did we learn in this video? We learned a lot of things. We learned about different food preservation techniques. We learned about the chemical methods by adding salt or edible oils. Sodium benzoate and sodium metabisulfite are the common preservatives which are added to food in order to prevent them from getting spoiled. Fish and meat are covered with common salt to preserve them. This doesn't allow the growth of bacteria. And salting is a method in which amla, raw mangoes, and tamarind are preserved. Sugar is added in jams, jellies, and squashes to preserve it. The sugar cuts out the moisture which doesn't allow the bacteria to grow. And oil and vinegar is a method of food preservation in which vegetable, fruits, fish, meat, pickles are dipped in oil or vinegar, and this doesn't allow bacteria because bacteria cannot exist in that environment. Hence, the food does not get spoiled. So, did you understand, students? Go through the notes and answer these questions. First question: why do we have to preserve our food? Second question: list the different methods by which we can preserve food. Third question: what are preservatives? And the last question: name two preservatives. Thank you, students.